Welcome, welcome, welcome to the SubHub podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Pod.
And yeah, that's right. You guys heard right. We're doing our first ever collab between the two main short trail sub ultra. We'll get into that in this podcast, but amazing collaboration between the SubHub podcast and the Steep Stuff podcast. I am Dani Moreno.
I'm Emkay Sullivan.
And I'm James Lariello.
All right. Evolution. Go ahead.
No, I think one thing I just wanted to get back to that and I don't want to go too far back, but one thing that we glossed over when we were talking about top series was Olympics. And I know MK kind of brought it up in one part. I just am so curious to get your guys' take on this. I like I said, I don't want to go down a super big rabbit hole. I'm just like, out of both just being professional, like as athletes in the sport, like what do you guys think as far as like this becoming an Olympic sport?
I think unfortunately it does have to be this format that they're talking about now, where it's like the flower format, or like what mountain biking has become, where they just do like it's like 4 or 5 mile loops or whatever, because it's easier to make it accessible for like TV and stuff. But I wish that it was like what World Championships format is, because I think that that's like, I really do think that they've kind of nailed it with the classic, the VK, the short trail, and the long trail. And I think it covers the sport really well, because as we all know, like ultra and short trail are almost two different sports, like, but trying to bring them together in some way. So I wish that there was more talk about doing it that way, instead of like just having this like short 40-minute like trail race. Because it's cool, but it just, I don't know, it doesn't encompass the whole sport.
Yeah. And I will add on that. I feel like we are in a space now where I would maybe compare it to, in cycling, they have the Olympics, but they have the Tour de France. And the Tour de France is still the crown jewel. So I think it's just like with the sport in the spirit of it, I think a win at, any of the Chamonix races, and then like Western States, or just Zagama, Sierras and all, that will always be probably top of resume. And the Olympics will like just go alongside of it. It won't like trump it, essentially. And I think that's the same with like tennis. Like tennis is in the Olympics. I don't know who won the Olympics in tennis, but like Wimbledon just happened. And whoever won that, I forget who it was on both sides, but like they are cemented in history forever. So I kind of feel like it'll have that sentiment. Yeah.
I like that. And to piggyback off, I think where my brain goes is I think about money, right? And athletes in our sport don't necessarily have long lives, right? It's a pretty tough sport to make it in, and there's not a ton of money. I think about it like this way from an Olympic perspective, where most athletes in the Olympics, there's no money to be made off of the TV rights, right? You're just on television. The only thing I could hope is that if it does become an Olympic sport, that will attract more big money sponsors into the sport. Therefore, more athletes will have the ability to make full-time livings, and it will grow the sport that way. Because I don't know, I just think about it from a career perspective. Like it's hard to do it, but it can be done. It would be nice if it did become an Olympic sport, that there'll be more of an opportunity for athletes to really professionalize in a lot more ways.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I tell somebody I podiumed at whatever race, and they're like, cool. And I'm like, oh, and I've also been a 4-time Team USA member. And they're like, wow, that's so cool. Whereas like I see some of my other achievements as being of a higher tier. When, because I whatever, I didn't place at the World Championships or whatever. And so, yeah, I do agree. It would probably bring other sponsors, but it's like, within the respects of your sport,
right.
If you do win Western States, any sponsor that's like really into trail running is suddenly like, we want a contract with you. We want a contract with you. We want a contract with you. So yeah, it is pretty interesting. It'll be interesting. I don't know if we're going to be in the Olympics anytime soon, though. It's just like, there's no agreement. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of argument. Yeah. And even within our own ranks at like the PTRA about like what,
yeah,
like does
like
doing
like an out of season testing pool and stuff like that. There's so many.
Yeah.
Things. That's the other thing, is like, does the sport have the money to cover out of season testing, which is like a big requirement.
Which I was laughing. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Cam Smith, I think he got married, and then like the next day he got drug tested. I was just laughing. Yeah, I thought
Shout
that
out
was
to
pretty
Cameron
cool.
Lynn.
Which
Yeah.
that's probably because he's on the skimo team, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like Cam's clean out here. Like
Yeah.
we should do everybody else.
Honestly, what a dream. I wish they were just showing up to my house randomly and drug
I know
testing
I'd
me.
welcome them in. I'm like,
Yeah.
you want
Cool,
some
right?
coffee? You want some Kool-Aid?
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate everything you do. Here's
Yes.
my pee.
Yeah.
Or my blood. That's so much easier. I don't know if you guys have ever done the blood test before races where they just prick your arm instead of peeing post race. 10 out of 10.
Oh
Way
wow.
prefer that.
So much easier.
Cool.
Nice. All right, let's keep it going. I put this evolution of big races over time. This is more so like the popularity of races, i.e., I was thinking of Broken Arrow and like how that's increased, why that's increased,
Drastically.
versus like Mount Washington, which we were just talking about, like more recent in the sport, unless you're living on the East Coast, like most young athletes aren't eyeing that like they used to, or really strong climbers. Like I'd love to see Anna Gibson go out there, but she's got her eyes on Golden Trail, you know? So yeah, just evolution of big races over time, both in the US and then I was thinking internationally. I don't know how to make this like a short discussion, but I was just thinking about what's it called? Like Zagama, the fact that Killian has won it like 10 times. Why? Like he's an incredible athlete, but like the competition keeps getting deeper and deeper. And so anyways, does that
I think
spark anything?
Well, I think a good question that James actually asked when we were kind of like spitballing this was like, when is does a race have to be a part of a series at this point to be successful?
Yeah,
That's the question,
that's
not
a
what I
$1 million
said.
question. No, and I gotta say, like, I think we've gotten to a point, and I think I feel pretty confident in saying this, like, especially now, like, being on the Pikes Peak board, like the flat answer, especially for a race as historical as that, is like, if you're not part of a series, like, you have massive fall off in the following years, and it's like, obviously, it's a gigantic honor to be part of something like the Golden Trail Series, but in the years following, you have to make a decision as an organization? Do you go back to being the same grassroots event it was in the 1980s and 70s and before then, before Skyrunner, before Golden Trail came along, or do you move forward with a new racing organization to try and join a series? Because, and I'll say, I'm sure Mammoth Trail Fest, while I don't know Tim super personally, I would imagine maybe going through the same thing and trying to figure out, like, what do we do next after Golden Trail? Because yes, I would imagine while there is immense popularity there, it's not quite the same as you will get with a Golden Trail series. So I would argue that the series is really important in today's day and age in our sport.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like a pro and con of just professionalization of the sport in general, because most athletes' contracts are covering these series. And so it's like, when Pikes Peak leaves Golden Trail, like your contract probably says Golden Trail race top 10, not Pikes Peak Marathon, Mammoth Trail Fest, like all these races. And so it's like, you look at your contract and you think, oh, well, shit, I actually don't have time for that this year because I need to make a little bit of money before I do this race or whatever. And so unfortunately, yeah, I agree. I think a race almost has to be a part of a series to be successful in a way, and maybe not successful is the right word, because I think like something like Mammoth Trail Fest, Tim's probably going to be doing just fine this year without Golden Trail because it kind of just brought in like that small like elite field. But that's not the case for every race. There's definitely like the festival vibe that brings people. I think races that aren't as much of a festival vibe, like Pikes Peak Marathon and Ascent type stuff, suffer once they don't have this series attached to them.
Yeah, and
Yes. Oh, sorry.
no, Danny, you go.
Yeah, something interesting that I was thinking about is like Mammoth Trail Fest, their inaugural year, they're part of Golden Trail World Series. And so I
It
was
was the
looking at,
second year, actually.
oh, that's right, because you
Yeah.
were a champion the first
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
I've won all three.
Oh
So
my goodness. Oh, yes, I forgot about that. Amazing. But I was just looking at their website and they have wait lists for all the races. And so it was like a marketing opportunity, like a not paid for, but it's interesting to have a race, it be a series like right off the bat versus already pre-existing,
but
creating its
I
DNA and then a series coming to it. Sorry, go ahead.
but I would argue that that is more of the festival thing, right? Like I think that there's
Yeah.
something about the Trail Fest, the Mammoth or the Broken Arrow weekend that brings in so much more community than other races
Yep. Yep.
in the
Yeah.
US that makes them almost like immune to that
Yeah.
like fall off.
Yeah.
And
And
I could be
also,
wrong, but
No, I think
and
you're right. Sorry.
yeah. Oh, sorry. We're all like getting really excited about this one. But also it's like in SoCal, because Mammoth is 5 hours from LA, roughly 5 to 6 hours. We don't have a ton of, like you're saying, races like this. It's Broken Arrow and Mammoth Trail Fest. The likelihood of you getting to Broken Arrow is getting less and less each year. And so if I was a person who's like, I want to go to the mountains this summer in California, you have all of SoCal, the whole central coast as well. It's like I would sign up for Mammoth Trail Fest if I didn't get into Broken Arrow. So maybe geography as well.
Yeah, I think so. And to MK's point, like I think that the Broken Arrow effect, Brandon, what he's done to create such a powerful weekend and something that it's like such a like something you want to bring your family to. You know, it's not just like athletes going out now. It's athletes bringing their whole family and enjoying that weekend. And like I think they've become immune to like whether Golden Trail Series sticks around with them or not. I think there's no like it doesn't even matter for them.
yeah.
And I think Tim's done a damn good job too. And the reason I said that is like now with the 200-mile race he's rolling out, he just announced Kraft as a new sponsor. Like I think they've gotten very creative, and I think that festival weekend, because we talk about this internally at Pikes all the time. I'm just like, look at what they've been able to create. I think everything that they do is just really, really thought through, very class act, very professional. I don't know. To me, I think that race will be around for a very long time. Like I think what they've created doesn't need something like the Golden Trail Series or something like that. But you look at like Mount Washington, which is a kind of, I don't want to say like it's become significantly smaller over the years. It tracks up front some really talented athletes, but it's without those athletes, without some of the fields that it tracks, it's not necessarily what it used to be. You know,
It doesn't have the depth.
does not, and I think that's a shame. You know, even Mount Marathon, I think like Mount Marathon is kind of its own thing and is not necessarily like immune to this, but what they've been able to create in that town of Seward, just their system that they have with that community, is something that is a great example of doesn't really need a series or anything, just because it's just so special and so unique and different.
Well, and maybe that's the key is that if you have to like work with the region or like the city or whatever it happens to be. Cause I think about Sears and All, and Sears and All is iconic because it is so like such a big part of the community there. Like they have, I think 3 or 4 different sections. You have like walkers, you have, joggers. I don't remember what they call them, but there's like 3 different sections, and pretty much everyone that lives in that area has been completing the race in some shape or form for years. Like you go there and there's still like Sears and All trail signs all the way up, on it and stuff. And I think about Mammoth Trail Fest. I think about Broken Arrow. Like they've done a really good job of working with the community that they're in to like create this space for the race where it like benefits the whole community instead of just being like some random race. So maybe that's the key is like opening, community and bringing that into it. Because Zagama, I imagine, is a very similar way as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's people that grow up cheering,
Yeah.
hiking the course. They have pamphlets with like little kids out there, like little soccer teams,
Yeah.
like this is their team event that they like cheer on runners.
They don't need a series because they
Yeah.
have community and like support in that way.
And that's
Yeah.
what you want to see. Like this is what I envision. Like I want to see more American mountain running where you have something like a like a Zagama or a series and all, where we have more people just on course with cowbells and like cheering and just getting so excited. Just more fans. I think that's the $1 million question is like, how do we just create more fans from these communities?
Honestly,
Yeah.
seeing the escarpment at Western States this year because they opened up the trams and people were able to go up there, like such a cool thing. Like you just have to offer those opportunities to community, I think, and they're likely to take them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote this down. I don't think we meant to do this intentionally, but it's kind of what it evolved into. But we started with like what makes a series great or like, pros and cons, and we've almost narrowed it down to like how can you do that at the race level? And like basically what makes a race great, what makes it iconic, so much that it can live with or without a series. So yeah, it's just super interesting. I almost like think too, though, what with Pikes Peak, when I think of Pikes Peak, granted, I'm looking at it from a lens of a professional runner. What to me made it iconic is the impossible records that could not be broken. I mean, the women's record still stands by Kim Dobson. And so having such a high tier athlete like Remy Bonnet, like that's my project. I think that even brought even more like new eyes to it and being like, what's this record that Remy's trying to beat? And so I was trying to ask myself, like, can a race be iconic without elite presence or like professional presence? Because that's a lot of the visible storytelling. Or is it like just really, really good storytelling when it all comes down to it?
I think storytelling, I think a compelling course, I think a really compelling course is so important. But I think the storytelling thing too, because it just like Remy Bonnet came there and not only did he break the record the second year, but he also broke lowered his incline record and just added to the mythos of like who this Swiss runner is. So yeah, I think there's so many cool opportunities for storytelling around these races. And this goes to an even like bigger conversation of what does ultra do, I think, so much better than short trail. And they do a really good job of telling the stories around the athletes around these races. And I think that's where like I personally need to step up and want to step up. And I want to see others as well, because like doing more videos and having those conversations around these athletes, like telling more of the stories of like who these athletes are pre-race and just getting more into the suffering and things like that. Whereas I think it's the relatability in a lot of ways as well. So.
Sweet. Do we want to dive into any more on that? I feel like
No. I feel like this is just a one-liner as we want live heart rate data.
Yes. Yes.
Just races in general.
VK
we just think
series
that
with
heart rate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Garmin could be a sponsor or Suunto. There you go.
We want live heart rate data. We want, some sort of like, I mean, I want this on the tour too. Like Tommy and I are like, where are the watts? Show us the watts. And it's like, they're never going to show us their watts because that's like their main weapon, But it would be so fun to watch like a VK with just like somebody's like Remy. I would love to see Remy's heart rate data for the Pikes Peak ascent record.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it might, I don't know
Not
if it's on
available.
his Strava.
I've looked for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I'm sure he's hidden that.
It's like 120.
Yeah.
He was sandbagging that day. I love it.
Oh gosh.
All right.
One question I do have that we didn't get to yet, and Emkay, you added this in the chat: short trail versus ultra conversation.
I feel like this should close out part 1.
Okay.
Like,
we also have equipment.
All right, let's do equipment, and then we'll close out part 1 with short trail versus sub ultra.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know that I have much of an opinion on this. So, if you guys do feel strongly about anything.
I don't feel strongly. I'll just call what it is. Emkay and I have been called out for our podcast being called the SubHub. But just general, it has been brought up more recently than not, whether or not we should call this distance of racing, i.e. anything under a 42K, because anything beyond a marathon distance is considered an ultra. And in Europe, they call it short trail. In the US, I was always, from when I entered the sport 8 years ago, was told it was sub ultra. But there's this perspective that using the word sub means that it's less than in a negative connotation when in just vernacular and common it's just a
in
word.
distance.
Yeah, it's like the sub 2 hour marathon. Like there's nothing negative about that. It's defining what's possible and impossible for human physiology over the marathon distance, which is exciting. The sub 4 project was recent with Faith Kipyegon in the mile to try and become the first woman to break 4 minutes in the mile. So in those cases, people are like super fired up. But yeah, there's just of opinions whether we should be calling it short trail instead of it being less than ultra. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
James,
no
what were
opinion.
your
That I was
thoughts?
just trying to provide details.
I want
Yeah.
to give a shout out to Noah Williams, who called me out on this recently. We were chatting about, I wouldn't say called me out, but we had a very constructive conversation about, yeah, he
Good way
brought
to
up the
put
same,
it. Yeah.
he brought up the same thing. He's like, dude, like in America, why do we call it sub ultra? He's like, and his take was we do it to separate from ultra. It's two separate things, yada yada yada. Whereas obviously in Europe, it's called short trail. I, for one, want to start the movement back of calling it short trail. I think it's just such a better way of conveying the stories, conveying the conversation. Not that sub isn't great. I'm fine with that. I just think it's a better way of saying it, in my opinion. I don't know. But like you guys have SubHub in your name. I literally I talk about sub ultra all the time, so it's like, it's synonymous. And it's synonymous with thing. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Do you think you're shout out to Noah, yes. Do you think when you're thinking about storytelling, why is it like if someone has never heard of the sport of trail running and you're explaining it to them, you just feel like it would be easier to explain it?
I think a little bit. I also like it comes back to the conversation like Noah brought up to me, and it's like his agree, and I really do agree with this. A lot of the reason we might say it or where this was adopted was the separation from ultra running, right? Where ultra running has captivated audiences more so in North America. Like I think the larger fan base, if anything, is more attracted to the ultra running, the longer stuff, as opposed to the lesser. And not even saying lesser distances. And I think it's up to us to like figure out like, okay, maybe short trail storytelling is easier conversation, and it separates it from ultra even more, and it provides more separation from that as opposed to saying sub ultra.
So do you think ultra should be rebranded as long trail?
I think so. I think that's what it should be called.
Do you think podcasts will start calling it long trail? I would be of the opinion that people in the ultra who are like super ultra fans, because I mean Emkay and I have heard before sub ultra being called the JV squad, which was
don't
really,
even get me
don't
started.
get started. Very just tells me they haven't really been in the sport.
Paid attention.
But like ultra is such a cool word. It's kind of sexy. Like it's like mega, it's huge, it's ultra. And then we're in the short trail space. We're like, no, let's all be on the same page. You guys should call it long trail. I think it'd be like, no, why would we call it long trail?
My vote for sub ultra is just that it covers more of what we're talking about.
Yep.
Because I have like my aunt, this is something that I say all the time, and I'm sure you guys have said this before. They'll be like, well, how far did you run today? And I'll be like, oh, only 10, and they're like, that's bullshit. Like only 10 miles, like that's not a short run, right? And so I just imagine telling someone who's new to this sport, like, oh, well, a 42K is short trail. It's like, that's not a short race. It's less than an ultra. It's sub ultra, but like a short trail race in my head is like the VK and the classic distance.
But that could be our American perspective too, because it's like so ingrained in us.
And I've also had this chat with other folks, like Michelino loves to call it mountain running. He says mountain running is different than trail running, and like
I agree.
I think
with
there's
that.
a distinction on that. And it's like,
but
well,
like, there's
that? Like, is that a
plenty
sub
of
category?
There's plenty. Yeah, it's like in the sub ultra category because there's plenty of like trail races in the U.S. especially that are short trail that are definitely not mountain running.
Yeah,
like most U.S. races.
Yeah, but like Cirque Series,
mountain running,
easily mountain
sure.
running.
I'd call that mountain running. Yeah, it's definitely not a trail, or like yes, it is on a trail, but it's not. I don't know. When I think of trail running, I kind of think of something a little bit flatter, more buffed out. I don't know.
Anything in California, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, explaining this to like my aunt,
Yeah.
she'd be like, that's all mountain running. That's all hard.
Yeah,
Like,
yep.
in my perspective, you're going uphill. That's mountain running. And I'm like, no. That's trail running.
All right. Let me ask you guys a question. I don't know if you've ever felt this way, because I know you've have covered some 50Ks and stuff like that. Do you guys feel weird covering 50Ks as well? Like, I feel like, oh, this is out of my niche. Like when I was talking about Speed Goat last week, I felt a little out of my niche, even though it's just 4 miles longer, than stuff that I normally do. Like, I don't know, but it's still like technically ultra.
Yeah. Dani and I feel like both kind of, at least I came into the sport doing more 50Ks than like short trail stuff, because that was what was available. And so for me, it just like makes sense. But also it's like, unfortunately, the redheaded stepchild of ultras for some reason. Like they're like, oh, a 31-mile race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we could
how
claim
short.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try to give it love,
Yeah. I think we nuance it. We'll say like sub ultras and 50Ks to like still create that line. Or we're like, hey, we're going to give the 50K some love, even though it's not.
Because if you run a 50K, you damn well deserve to call yourself an ultra runner.
Oh, for sure. The things are so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's kind of, yeah, it's such an interesting distance that no one wants to claim, even though it's great. It's such a great distance. It has its own like level of storytelling, different from Golden Trail, Cirque Series, and stuff like that.
So maybe our sport. Sorry, I was just gonna say one.
No, go for it.
Maybe our sport. Do we have an identity crisis then with our sport?
We do.
We
That's
don't
definitely.
know, we don't know like what we are yet.
What am I? I don't know. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm just like of that space that like, what's called when it comes to words, like emotions tied to a word is based on an individual's life experiences and perspectives. Like a word is just a word until you have an experience with it. And so like the word sub is like so neutral to me. It truly means less than. But like people being like taking it as like a shot to their ego, like, oh, I'm less than something else. It's like, no, less is more sometimes. Like literally, that's one of the best mantras in life. That's all to say, I don't feel, while it seems like I'm defending sub ultra, I see, like, what's it called? The benefits
Either
of both.
way.
Either way. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
to your point, James, it's like, maybe we all should just have like a big group meeting and like, how are we going to define this? Because we don't know. And let's just all be on the same page. So not to confuse audiences too, because our sport is already so confusing to like the person coming in. I mean, I was confused for like 5 years.
I'm still confused.
I'm still confused, actually.
Same. Well, and the thing is too is like even if we do become an Olympic sport, like sub ultra in general is probably like one of our disciplines is probably going to be the one that gets.
It's
there.
probably just like classic.
Yeah.
Like just classic mountain racing is probably what will make the cut.
So,
And that is short trail or short mountain. What?
Yeah.
Who knows?
What is this? We don't
I know, short trail, short classic mountain.
We need a committee meeting. We need a committee. We need to just, whenever we get like a governing body, we need to just coin the phrase and call it what it is.
But it almost should go to people who aren't into the sport because we're so close to it. And like I said, we have emotions already attached to certain things and, certain camps. So almost go to like every other sport and be like, to you, what would make the most sense? Like when you see short trail, what does that mean to you? And when you see long trail, what does that mean to you? And all the fun things. I think that would potentially be the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So we're
we agree on being confused.
Put a pin in it.
Well, I mean, we'll make an effort to start saying short trail. So if you start saying short trail, I mean, to the point of our collab, folks, there's only 2 podcasts right now
It's true.
that focus on this.
Not super deep when it comes to short trail podcasts out there. Yeah.
But we're all you need, so.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh man, I feel like we covered a lot in this first little bit.
Yeah.
It might, I mean, we might cut that halfway.
Yeah, we might have to cut this one too. So if you guys are listening, you're like, what the hell? This is the beginning of the second podcast.
Do we want to switch to, so we have 2 topics left, athlete longevity, and then athletes who are on fire.
Yes. Yep. So yeah.
Huh.
Athletes on
Athlete
fire.
longevity. I
Yeah,
think we start with that. I think we close it out with talking
yeah.
about the people we love and the people that are crushing it in this sport right now.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of do a couple thoughts on this. It's interesting having like Tim Tollefson as like a friend slash mentor because he's said this a couple times and he's said it on like free trailgating as well. If he had the opportunities that now short trail athletes have, he probably would have focused on the 50K distance longer because he loves it. It's like
He's
great
very
for
good
his
at
strength
it,
that he's very good at it. I can't remember the last time he's lost a 50K. But when he was coming up in the sport, all the money was in ultra running
which
or
was still
long
barely
jump.
anything, but it was something.
Yeah. And so now that there are opportunities and athletes do have the option to focus on short trail or long trail, um, I'm just trying to think of like, does that really extend your career? Because you take something like Golden Trail, last year they were asking you to do 4 big races plus a final, which was a prologue. So like if you really committed to the series, that's 6 races alone, not a, and there's probably other stuff on your calendar. So it's like, yes, we can race more often, but what is that? How is that any different from someone doing 2 ultras in a year, you know?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting point because I do think that short trail offers more longevity in theory. Like I look at Judith Wider, I look at Joseph Gray, I look at trying to think, oh, even I mean, even Killian, like if you look at his career, he's either running short trail races or he's doing like 100 miler a year, you know? Um, so I think that it's like because the races are shorter, you're not you might be racing more frequently, and maybe that can take a toll over time if you're not taking care of your body, not eating enough, overtraining, etc. But you don't get as many like big serious shocks to your system, like rhabdo or heat stroke, like at Western States, or just like having hallucinations at UTMB. I don't know, like stuff like that. Like that's serious stuff that will stick with your body for the rest of your life. Whereas just like kind of beating the crap out of your muscles every 2 to 3 weeks, I don't think has the same effect on your body long term.
I agree. I think we've entered the phase now and I think you're starting to see the beginning of it. Like you're seeing Max King. I think Max King is 45 years old. Joe Gray's 41, 42. Indy Wacker's a bit younger. He's 36. Judith is, like a lot of these athletes have been, Killian can't be anything older than 36,
He's like
37.
38 or
38.
37 or 38. Yeah.
Okay. So you're starting to see like, I think with these specific athletes that have been around the game for a long time, I think it's a career. Obviously. My question is, and to piggyback off that, with more money flowing into the sport, all these really high end athletes coming out of college and going into trail, will we see more? I think two things. Will we see more of a career trajectory where these athletes stay in the sport for 10, 15, 20 years and then maybe go into commentary, do something different? Like, will it be a true, like a true profession? Like in a lot of ways. Whereas like in the past, it's been more one-offs where it's been less of a profession. People are always doing something on the side or having full-time careers while they're in their trail lives. Will we see that, or will they be moving up in distance and continuing their careers that way? Or sticking around sub ultra where you can do that and stay in the career that way. So I think there's a lot of questions as we start to professionalize even more so into the next 5 to 10 years of the sport.
Well, and I think another like point to add to that is kind of to bring this back to like the very top of our discussion is the UTMB effect. I think that unfortunately the UTMB effect incentivizes people to move up quicker than they would have even like 2, 3 years ago. Like Golden Trail was the premier short trail thing to do. You made a lot of money doing it. You were incentivized because they would pay you to go to the next event, or they wouldn't pay you, but they would help you get there, stuff like that. Whereas now it's like, you could make your career off of OCC. So you race 50Ks to get in. And then it's like, oh, well, I've done OCC. Could I do CCC and like make a little bit more money from my sponsor because my sponsor's probably like giving me more money for this race because it's further. And then it just like, yeah, I think that might change what we see in the next couple of years. Like I even look at somebody like Roberto De Lorenzi, and I feel like he's already like moving up because there's more financial incentive in these like 50K plus distances than there was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it, Dani.
Yeah, Roberto's been running trails for a while though. I know he's younger, but it's kind of like that classic, like your training age versus like your actual age. I've seen that come up a handful of times.
Yeah, definitely. But
Um,
he's not making possibly not making a career out of short trail like some of these other athletes have. He is moving up, you
And
know.
Francesco's a great example. He moved
Yeah.
up recently or semi recently. Yeah.
yeah, I think it comes back to the sponsors, honestly.
Yeah.
Because to
I think that
me,
dictates a lot.
it like is very clear that we can speculate that they're taking very good care of Remy Bonnet and Sophia Lockley, both coming off of overall wins of the Golden Trail World Series, the Premier Short Series. Granted, they are the title sponsor, so that's clear that that's what they're into. Versus other teams that appear to be ultra heavy. I'd have to like see every name on their list.
I mean, I'd say it's probably most brands are ultra heavy outside of maybe Solomon. And even
Yeah.
Solomon's pretty ultra.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brooks is kind of changing the game a bit, but
Yeah, no, definitely. Um, so yeah, it's hard. I think when it comes down to it, it's always money, and depending on like your own personal values and like what you value in that moment. So like yeah, like nothing against Tim Tolson for choosing what was going to support his life at the time, right? And provide for himself and his wife and stuff like that. I personally didn't get paid for years because I didn't want to move up. And, you know, it was kind of like a long time coming. Now I'm reaping some benefits from it, but it was like almost a decade's worth of investment on my end and being admittedly very stubborn. Like, you know, 8 years in, I'm finally running further than a 55K. And during those 8 years, I've seen women my age like have really big years and then disappear, you know,
Yeah.
because it was just too much. So yeah, I think it comes back to like what you really want to do, right? Because like in the track and field world, you have people that never run further than 100 meters for a race and make a ton of money. And then you have people that are marathoners, never run further than a marathon. They'll never run a 50K in their life, and make tons of money. But again, that's all the sponsorship backing and having
I
that.
also, oh yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Oh, and just like kind of choosing your battle and meeting
Yeah.
the industry for where it's at in this moment. And now we're finally at a point where short trail athletes can make, I don't want to like say like just as much, very close maybe. I don't think it's completely equal yet. Yeah,
Well, so I think that is geographical in some ways
yeah,
because I think as a US short trail athlete, you have way less opportunities to make money like at short trail races just because we don't have as many. But if you're a European short trail athlete, instead of being like, okay, I'm gonna go run UTMB and try to win and make 20K, you're like, I have a race in, you know, the town next to me every other weekend and I can just make $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, 2,000. So it's like,
you're totally
I
right.
think, yeah, I think it depends too on where you live. If you can kind of make those decisions of like being Judith Weeder and being like, I really enjoy short trail. So like, I'm just going to race all these local races and make money. Whereas like for us, it's like you got Broken Arrow, you know, you can make some big money. And then after that, it's like, I got to go to France to make money off of a short trail race. So it's like way more of a commitment. And if your sponsors aren't behind it, you're kind of out of luck and you got to move up almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say like, I mean, this is a difficult thing to say because obviously a lot of ultra races are extremely competitive, but I just think the depth when it comes to sub ultra, as far as just like athletes you've never even heard of, just being so good. There's just so much depth. It's so much harder, I think, to win something like that. Not that it's not hard to win. Obviously, it's extremely hard to win like a UTMB or something like that. But like,
I'll
if you
back
were
that comment.
yeah, if you're taking your average ultra race versus your average sub ultra race, or something like that. I think the depth is just, it is so competitive. So it's a harder payday, harder to make that money, if you will, if you have the slightest thing go wrong. But then again, the slightest thing could go wrong in ultra. So maybe I'm just, yeah, I don't know. No, I agree with everything you guys are saying. So
yeah, it's definitely, it is interesting also just thinking of the lens, because like sometimes I'll, like during this injury when I didn't know when I was going to race again, and I'm like, okay, I haven't made money off a race in 8 months. And so going into May before Broken Arrow, I was just Googling, I'm like, prize money, trail race, like marathon as like a tune-up for Broken Arrow. And the only things I could find was like, if you break the 100K record at our race, if you break the 100-mile record at our race. And I'm like, okay. Or what's it called? Or just like place in like the 100-mile. And it's like, and we also have a 25K. And I was like, dang it. Just like trying to find something too. It's little to none. Which is pretty tough. But yeah, at least give me like a block of cheese like they do in Europe.
Or some prosciutto. Yeah. Yeah.
6-pack of beer in Germany. Like every race, you're getting beer. Yeah.
I think it was Manuel Morales. Like he had posted like a thing of prosciutto he had won like in Spain. I was like, oh, dude, like that's the good stuff right there. That's not bad. I do have one question, and this is a conversation I actually had semi recently, and this kind of goes to the geographic distribution, but this is more geographic distribution for contracts. I had this conversation with Dan Kurtz when he was kind of coming up, and obviously Dan Kurtz is one of the most talented athletes to ever enter our sport in a lot of ways. And just having him come in and having a really hard time being from the Northeast and trying to get signed. Whereas I feel like it's easier being in Boulder, being on the Front Range of Colorado, being in California, being maybe in the Pacific Northwest, where a lot of the brands are located. Have you guys seen this, or are you like, what are your thoughts on just geographic in America?
I would agree with that. I mean, because I think that sponsorship is a lot about who you're rubbing elbows with. And a lot of the like athletes on the Northeast just don't get that same exposure because, I mean, the US is freaking massive. So just being like, well, why don't you just go run the races in California? It's like, that's a lot of money, like it costs just as much to travel across the US as it does to go to Europe. So I'll go to Europe where people still don't know me. I think it's definitely geographical. I think, I've seen a lot of big bias, like in the Boulder community, like of just people getting sponsored because they know the right people. But definitely, I would say it's more of a West Coast, Central to West Coast kind of heavy sport in terms of like finding those opportunities.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I think that's why like something like an uphill championship or something like where you're bringing the regions together. Because yeah, to MK's point, is like the US, North America's ginormous.
Big place.
The US is ginormous. Like to be able to bring athletes to actually like have them, duke it out against each other, like East Coast, West Coast athletes, so sponsors could see that would be really, really cool. Because yeah, I've also run on the East Coast. Those trails are freaking treacherous, man. And like watching the Cirque series stories of the ones you guys just did, I was like, oh my gosh, like you really have to keep your eye on it. Centipede Scramble with the US Championship, like having videos on it to show like how gnarly it is. But yeah, I think that's honestly just, it's a very similar, what's it called? Like to the Silicon Valley, like if you want to work in tech, like you're trying to get to Silicon Valley. There's like other tech hubs starting to show up because California is freaking expensive. And I think companies have realized how expensive it is, but it's like, that's just where the business meccas are, like in America in general. Like I'm trying to think East Coast, it's New York. And so you think of the industries that come with New York. Atlanta, Georgia's coming up. Like, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, just move to Boulder. You'll get picked up by somebody.
Just move your entire life. Spend all of your money.
I'm just a hater because I think West Coast is, better anyways than living in Colorado. Sorry, James.
No, you know what? I have to agree with you. There's better spots in the country for sure. Colorado is pretty expensive.
Nah, Colorado's great. I do love it. But
I think
it's a bias thing for sure.
But that's why it's up to companies to hire team managers. Like, oh my gosh, my dream job so if any sponsors are out listening, would be to be a talent scout. I think that'd be so much fun because like if you have someone that can actually run trails, understands the industry. Say like they send me out to Sunapee like 10 years from now, and I like run a loop course, and I'm like, okay, I know what type of skill it's going to take to run this course great because I have all the experience. The race happens. I'd be able to be like, that's an impressive performance. Let's talk to that athlete. So like having a talent scout or reps or whoever's making your team decision so well versed in the space that they can identify like that sleeper talent that's coming up, that'd be so cool.
Absolutely.
You know, on that topic, did you know, I can't, his name escapes me. Courtney Coppinger and I were just talking, and whoever put together, they basically for this year, they put together a team of more developmental athletes on the Brooks side. That's where your Taylor Stack, Sydney Peterson, a lot of those athletes we'll talk about in a few kind of came from, and they kind of stacked it out based off of athletes that have a lot of promise and will develop and things like that. And they kind of built it around that. And I was like, ooh, whoever had an eye and picked those athletes, like
Crushing it.
Bravo. Like really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. I love that Brooks is really investing in the sub ultra side.
Yeah, because it does seem hard for athletes or for teams to invest in up and coming talent in the same way. And Brooks has just like sent it this year on like most of the team.
Well, even Courtney, because I believe
Yeah.
she was running with Under Armour before.
Yeah.
Mega pickup by them. Like also
Yeah.
like just identifying that talent. So yeah, whoever that person is, female
Hit
or
us up.
male,
We just wanna
hit us
chat.
up. We want to chat. We want to chat. No, I love
All
it.
right.
I guess
I
in
know we
summer,
only
if you run short races, you probably can have a really long and successful career.
yes.
You might come up in the industry. It's a little tougher to negotiate contracts, but keep at it. And remember, whenever you're negotiating, you're also negotiating for the future of short trail. So
Very true.
wrap that sucker up.
Wrap it up. I know we only have a couple more minutes left to record here, so we should do some mid-season honors.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll hop on this one for the US based athletes. Just some names that have popped up. There's quite a list. And if we've left anybody out, like that's not like we love you all. No disparagement. Like there's so many amazing performances this year so far. Noah Williams I had on the list. Anna Gibson. Big shout out to Ryan Becker, who literally just won Speed Goat this past weekend. Andy Wacker, Jane Moss, Grayson Murphy, Jen Lichter, who also just won Speed Goat 50K and set the course record. Absolute monster performance. Eli Hemming, David Sinclair, Joseph Gray, Christian Slim Reaper Allen, Cam Smith, David Norris, and Claire Rhodes. Is there any like specific people we want to pick out, talk about some performances, anything that jumps out to you guys?
Danny and I talked about this a little bit on our last pod, but like big Jen Lichter year. And you know, like I know Free Trail just did their kind of mid-season Troy watch. Jen Lichter should have been on that list. Like she is knocking it out of the park this year. And I think I just saw that she actually dropped out of OCC to focus on world championships and get ready for that. And that gives me chills a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Is Jen Lichter, I mean, she's I would say the best mountain 50K runner arguably on the planet right now. Like one of the best, if not the best.
Don't even get me started. I talked about this on the pod too. I said, Jen, why are you not in short trail world championships? I'll forgive you for doing long trail, but
Yeah. I think this year at this point, she is at the top of the list for sure. Meow Yao just had a big win at Val d'Aran on a really technical course. Great battle against Sylvia Nordic Star. So I think if Meow backs that up with a huge OCC, then they're definitely like tier. So yeah, that's the only other like performance that comes straight out. Tony McCann also had a great course record performance at Lavaredo, but I'll just call it what it is. I think that course record was weak on the women's side, and she did it without pressure. So I think if she had a little bit of pressure too, I'd also put that like right there. But a course record is a course record. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to call it. So yours was Jen.
Yeah.
I mean, Anna Gibson, I don't know if she was on that. I mean, she's just an obvious pick.
Yep.
But the two of them together, because this is North American focused, US based, are in my top tens currently if I were to vote for Troy right now. Just both have had super, super fire years. And Anna's most impressive performance to me was the Zagama Sunapee scramble back to back. I just like having run that race. Just incredibly difficult to like come back and beat that field with that much dominance. Just, yeah, I think that was such a stellar performance. And then the VK just leading with how short that race was. Absolute fire there.
Yeah, yeah, absolute, yeah, crusher. I gotta say, I gotta give Ryan Becker. Like Ryan Becker has become a friend over the last few months, and I just have to say, like, sing his praises. This one, along with the Broken Arrow 46K coming on the podium there, in third place, I have to sing his praises for finally getting a big one at Speed Goat. Now he's a forever Speed Goat champion, which is pretty cool. And I think Ryan has been searching for that big win. I think in his on his resume. That might, as he's very much so searching to try and get a contract and kind of move into that area in his life. And I hope this is the one that does it. So I definitely got to give some giant praise to Ryan Becker.
Ryan is not sponsored?
No.
What?
Yeah, we got to put that one out there. Like, yeah, if you're an athlete manager listening to this, like give Ryan Becker a call.
You want to talk about consistency in this sport? Like that man has been on like every podium of a 50K he's ever ran. It feels like he rarely misses.
Yeah,
holy
and then,
cow!
Like, top 10 in the I think he was 8th at the Broken Arrow Ascent.
Yeah,
like so consistent. Like probably like if we were to have when it was all said and done, if we had like a Hall of Fame, like Ryan Becker is like probably in our short trail Hall of Fame.
Always there
at the end of the day. Yeah. So
yeah,
definitely someone that
Dang. Was he ever sponsored?
No. I think he worked with Speedland for a little bit, but that was kind of it. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, sponsors, if you're listening to this, we just scouted you.
Yeah, did your work for you.
Yeah, did your work for you. Amazing. All right.
I do real quick want to give a shout out to Christian Allen because Dani and I 100% counted him out for Sunapee Scramble. Oh, no, sorry, for the VK because of his performance at Sunapee Scramble. And he came and backed that up with a massive day at the VK and then a great day at Golden Trail 2 days later. So I'm here for Christian Allen stock for the rest of the year. It's on the up.
Yeah. What did you call him? Christian Sleeping Allen?
He calls himself Slim.
Yeah.
So I call him the Slim Reaper. It's off of
I like it.
It's I think it's Kevin Durant's nickname from basketball. So I kind of ripped that off of Kevin Durant. But yeah, no, you know what? Christian's another one. Like I very much so felt the same way after Sunapee. I was like, man, is he coming back too soon after the stress reaction in his leg?
Yeah.
And sure enough, I love the way he races. So aggressive. Like puts himself in the race, sticks his nose in it. Yeah. Christian, big fan of Christian.
Cool.
You guys want to talk international?
Yeah, we can do a quick little international rundown. Some athletes that we had listed for midseason watch were Remy LaRue, Lucas Errol, Madalena Floria, El Hussein El Azawi, Patrick Moreno, Philemon Ambogo, Joyce, Lauren Gregory, Lucille Germain has been crushing the Skyrunner scene, Joylene Chepnieno just won Mont Blanc Marathon, Sarah Alonso feels like an obvious one to me, Luca Del Piero, Jose Quispe, and Kimmy Schreiber. Any names that you guys want to chat about real quick?
Well, if I were to have a top 10 Troy right now, Sarah Alonso would be my number one, to be honest,
easily.
Across the board. Just like super, super fire year, and just really bummed that she had an incredibly freak accident with a cow charging her and her breaking a rib. But she's hitting the cross training. And as we know, Sarah is an incredible cross trainer. And I think she's actually talking to her recently. She's hopeful she will come back for OCC. Recovery's going really well. And I just think it's her year in OCC. Like, it's going to be a freaking hard race with the likes of Meow Yao, Judith Weeder, Sophia Lockley, Joylene Kipnego, but Sarah's just like so on fire. It would be really hard for me to bet against her. And, she's been through the ringer these last couple years, but she just always gets up. I'm just a big fan of fighters.
She's hungry.
So she's hungry. Yeah. That's my shout.
I would give a shout out to Joylene Chipnieno. Obviously came on the scene last year when she won Sears and All. She ran one Golden Trail race this year, I think, at China. But then hasn't done anything since. But she did show up at Mont Blanc Marathon, which we talked about having a 10 grand prize purse for first place. And I was really impressed that she beat Judith there. Like it was a long race for her in my head. And so I still don't understand how she's in OCC. That's a whole nother conversation about UTMB, but I am excited to see her mix it in with those women. And on that note, we did not mention his name, Davide Magnini.
Yeah.
On the comeback train,
Back from the
also
dead.
won Mont
Back
Blanc
from the dead.
Marathon, back from the dead. Like I'm imagining he's not an OCC unless he qualified last year and we just don't know it, which we could because there's so many races, but would love to have seen him in that field.
Yeah, he's a monster. And like to, especially to come back after, all that time of injury. Like to,
Yeah.
I do want to shout out Lucas Earl. Like super impressive performance at Broken Arrow. I just think he's so young. What is he, Dani? I think like 20, 21, something like that.
I think he's 20 because he wasn't able to check into his hotel.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of opportunity there. Young athlete. So it's going to be cool to see, see what he does.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And our last of this, I don't know, saga of a podcast.
Marathon of a podcast.
We have a rising star / keep your eyes on / breakout star category. Athletes that are catching our eye, having breakthrough years. We have Alexa Aragon, Ruby Lindquist, Marie Neve, Mason Copey, Taylor Stack, Courtney Coppinger, and Sydney Peterson.
And this is obviously a little North American heavy because we just are, I feel like we're on fire this year in terms of like depth in short trail in America. So a lot of rising stars we got here.
I just got two I'll call out really quick. Mason Copey, what a season so far. Podium at Sunapee, got himself his ticket to Worlds. Has just had, he won the Kendall Mountain Run in Colorado. I forget if he won. I don't know. I can't remember if he won Cirque Series Snowbird. I knew he was there. I'm sure he won. If not, he was on the podium.
He's definitely on the podium.
Super consistent and just has like really achieved a new level this year with all that hard work. So it's going to be very cool to see him on the Worlds team and what he's going to be able to do with the rest of the season. Big fan of Mason Copey. And then Taylor Stack as well. Another one. Podium, printed his ticket to go to Worlds as well at Sunapee. Has had a great race at the Broken Arrow 23K. And then if somebody wants to take Courtney Coppinger, that's another one that stands out as well.
You want to take that one, Dani?
Those were honestly my three. I couldn't agree more. No, it's great. I think we're all on the same wavelength. Courtney, I mean, she was a track professional for a little bit, got into like the tech world, started to kind of mess a little bit with trails, was originally sponsored by Under Armour. I think then moved directly to Brooks, or probably had a small hiatus between that, but won the GoPro 10K this year, was 5th at the Sunapee Scramble, and is now on our Team USA. And I think she's just like such in a good spot in life. Like we crossed paths briefly in Santa Barbara, and she just like, she's radiating positive energy. And I think that's really just like translating into her running. When you're happy, you run well. And she's absolutely crushing it. I can't wait to see what she does at Worlds, honestly.
Yeah, I'm such a fan. Yeah, it's going to be very cool to see like what she does with the rest of the year.
And I'll give a quick Alexa Aragon shout out because I don't really know how serious she is about getting into this, but Alexa Aragon is the sister of Dani and Christina Aragon. I think both of them, who are huge track stars. I imagine Alexa was probably 1-2 if I had to guess. And she won a Cirque Series race very recently, which we love. We love seeing like college track stars coming out here and crushing Cirque Series races. That's the opportunities that we're looking for, So watch out for Alexa.
Yeah. She was also, she was a steepler at Notre Dame, and also she was top 10 at the Broken Arrow Ascent and top 10 at the 23K this year. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. She's
on it.
Definitely one to look out for. So cool.
Another steeplechaser. They crush it.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. I'm sure there's like 2 more hours of chatting that we could do about the state of sub ultra right now, short trail, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah, maybe we could touch base again at the end of this year. But if you guys don't already follow both of our podcasts, the SubHub podcast, the Steep Stuff podcast, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram, hit that subscribe button. And if you guys liked part 1, part 2, let us know in the comments of the podcast that you are currently listening to right now. And if you are a mega fan, maybe you'll even drop a 5-star review, or just let us know how you're liking the podcast.
Yeah. And let us know if you want us to do this again. And if so, what topics do you want us to cover? Because
We should
I'm
source
sure
them.
we could, yeah, I'm sure we could come up with some stuff. So
Oh yeah, no, we could do a lot more conversations, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Yeah, vice versa. This has been the SubHub podcast and
The Steep Stuff podcast. Sorry.
oh, so you're good. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.
bye.
Bye. What'd you guys think? Oh man, what a fun episode. Such a blast getting to talk about the state of our sport, the sport that we love so much. And yeah, lots of good topics in there, lots of good things to discuss. And yeah, I just really want to thank Dani and Emkay so much for having me on the podcast to chat and do this collaboration. It was a lot of fun and hope to do more in the future. Guys, before you get going, you can find Dani and Emkay at the SubHub podcast. Give them a follow on Instagram. You can get them first at _SubHub_pod. If you don't already follow them on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you consume your podcast, give them a follow. You can also find them on Instagram directly at Dan_Yell_A for Dani, and MK at MKSULLI. Give them both a follow, and yeah, let them know what you guys thought about the episode. Also, if you guys happen to enjoy this one, give us a 5-star rating and review to both pods if you are really enjoying this one. And like I said, on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, doesn't matter, wherever you consume your podcast, give us a follow and give us a review, and we'd really appreciate that. If you guys have questions, concerns, comments, send us a DM. Let us know. I'd love to hear topics for another episode like this, and I'd love to hear just what you guys are thinking. I know there was a lot of debate over this short trail versus trail running versus sub ultra. I mean, we have an identity crisis in the sport, so it's always good to get feedback from the listeners. And listen, at the end of the day, we're just trying to do right by following and commentating on the sport. Elevating the profiles of these athletes, whatever you guys want to call it. I don't care. It's the best sport on earth. So I'm sure we'll settle on a name at some point. Guys, hope you have a great rest of your week. All kinds of good stuff coming down the pipeline. I've got interviews with Liam Myro as well as Matt Daniels dropping next week. All kinds of good stuff. Really appreciate it. And we've got some a cool collaboration down the pipeline with one of the most famous runners to ever grace our sport. So some good stuff in the pipe. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.